I do solemnly swear that I understand I'm being released on my own recognizance. I further swear that I'll return to court on the day and at the time that my summons demand. When I was 21 years old, I turned myself in to be arrested as an undocumented immigrant when I was a senior at UCLA. I was following the advice of our immigration attorney. We had approached him after our renewable visas had been canceled with no explanation. That's another story. Our attorney had explained the process to us. If we turned ourselves in, we would get a trial by an immigration judge. And if we won, we could stay and we'd be on the path to becoming US citizens. However, if we lost, we would have to leave and we could not return for 10 years. Our attorney went further to explain what was going on. Listen, he said to my dad, you have a business here, you've been employing US citizens, you have a son born right here in California, you've been paying taxes for years, and in Los Angeles, there are 7 judges on the court. I think they're going to look on this pattern of facts quite favorably. Now, just for full disclosure, I should tell you there is one crazy judge on the bench. We call him the hanging judge. I mean, if you get him, you get him, but anyway. He looks at my father. No, your real problem. Your real problem is your daughter. That's me. You said she's 21 now? Well, she's not actually covered by all of this. She's going to have to get arrested by herself and have her own independent, separate trial. We just hope that, her trial is on the same day with the same judge. Yeah, well, she doesn't really have any other options. But are you seeing the big picture? He asked my father. My father has always seen the big picture about America. And he said, yes, let's go for it. So the date for our court case arrives, and we're waiting in the cafeteria to be called in. And my dad, he's just sort of working the room. And I see him talking to his best friend, George. Now, let me tell you about George. George is middle-aged. He's white. He is wearing an NRA hat. He is a Republican, and he is a Christian who takes seriously God's commandment to love thy neighbor. And my dad is talking to George. Okay, George, you know, guy, when I'm a US citizen, you're understanding, right? My vote is going to totally cancel your vote out, okay? And then they hug. And in those days, a Democrat and a Republican could hug, and neither one spontaneously combusted. And then I see our attorney come in. Now, the air conditioning is turned on really high, but he is patting his forehead, and he is red. Listen, everyone, I got to tell you something. We got him. We got the hanging judge. There's nothing to be done now except make our way to the courtroom. We're about 30 people, friends and family, who have all come to support us. We get to the courtroom, and my father holds the door open so that people can come in. They are still coming in when we hear the judge's voice. Shut the door. Shut it. Shut. What are all these people doing here? Is this some kind of circus? Well, I'll tell you what you're doing here. You're pissing me off. We sit down. He is looking at my parents' file. What are you doing here? I mean, these people do not have the right to a hearing. They are immediately deportable. All right, out. Out, everyone out. I mean, pack your damn bags out. Our attorney gets up. Your Honor, I believe these people do have the right to a hearing, and their son is a U.S. citizen. You cannot deport him. So the judge answers, okay, sure, fine. The boy starts foster care today. The room is in a stunned silence, except for the sound of a single sheet of paper shaking in my father's hand. Then the prosecutor stands up. He is our official adversary in these proceedings, and he represents the interests of the U.S. government. Well, Your Honor, it does look like there are some differing opinions on the right to a hearing. So as the representative of the United States government, I'd like to say, for the record, I'd like to hear this case. The judge does not like this, but his hand has been forced. So my father does take the stand. He talks about his business, how many people depend on him for their livelihood. Some of his employees take the stand, and then a child psychologist does. Your Honor, I was called to examine a 7-year-old boy, the U.S. citizen child of this family. Upon examination, I observed that all 10 fingers were bleeding because he bites his nails so much. He has nightmares most nights of the week, and he has terrible separation anxiety. If you separate this child from his family, from his parents, you will be causing permanent and pernicious harm to a child who is a U.S. citizen. And I will say from my professional experience, stop! I've heard enough. All right? I've heard enough. The judge just sends her back to her seat. He looks up. Well, based on the evidence of the boy and the citizen employees, I'm granting this family the right to remain in the United States of America. I mean, there is a wall-shaking cheer. It worked. It actually worked. People are on their feet, they're hugging, they're kissing, they're crying. Everyone is crying except me. I can see that the judge has picked up my much thinner file, and the sound of him slamming it down to the podium ends the celebration immediately. Well, this case, this one, really has nothing, right? This has nothing. He's talking to our attorney. Are they paying you for this crap work? I mean, there's nothing here. Your Honor, our attorney says, this young lady is, she's part of the family you just heard from. She's had to have her case separated because of, she's 21, she's had a couple of birthdays, she's just not officially in the, oh, is my courtroom a birthday party venue? Huh? Is that what this is? Sit down. Well, then the prosecutor stands up. Well, Your Honor, as the representative of the United States government, I'd like to hear the young lady's case as well. Now the judge is livid. He and the prosecutor go back and forth for a while, and it's ugly. But ultimately, I am allowed to take the stand, and I take an oath to tell the whole truth. So the prosecutor wants to ask me some questions, and he starts. He asks me what I've been doing here recently, and I tell him that I'm a recent UCLA graduate. And he wants to know, well, what kind of student was I at UCLA? And I tell him the truth. I do tell him that I was an honor student at UCLA. And then he wants to know if I have ever worked in this country illegally. I just begin to pour sweat. Because the truth is, in my senior year of college, I showed up to take an office job without my paperwork, and my employer never followed up. I am just sweating when the judge spits in my direction. Answer the question. Have you worked in this country as an illegal? Yes, sir, I have. My father drops his head. He didn't know. I cannot look at my family. I know that I will have to leave them, and I will have to leave them for 10 years. My brother is 7. He is going to grow up entirely without me. And what am I going to do without friends, without family, because of some stupid mistake I made as a college senior? Your Honor, it is the voice of the prosecutor that pulls me back into the courtroom. The legal standard we are called to uphold in these cases is good moral character. I have heard nothing to contradict that standard here. My attorney stands up. Your Honor, this young lady, she is not a criminal. The judge tells them both to shut up and sit down. So now I am alone on the stand. And I'm looking out at the people who have come to support us. They are black and brown and white, Hindu, Christian, Sikh, Jewish, liberal, conservative, educated, working class. I see a Hollywood translator, a Hollywood ghostwriter, a German translator, a handyman, my dad's friend with that hat. Strivers and dreamers, Americans all. Stay or go, The decision is the judge's alone. He looks up. The order to deport is canceled. I hear a shrill, shrieking noise. It takes a moment for me to realize that that sound is coming from me. It worked. I was staying. I stand up. I'm just like jumping, and my tears finally fall with everyone else's because I am home.